The X puzzles you saw before had all positive numbers. So let's see what happens when we throw negative numbers in the mix. Okay, now we're going to do these first and kind of just see and observe the results. And then we're going to come down here and try these. Okay, and you'll notice the ones in the back, they're like these. Okay, so this is the one that you have to be able to do, but we're going to make some observations first. Remember the rules. The top is these two sides multiplied, and the bottom is these two sides added, right? This is the product, the answer to the multiplication problem. This is the sum, the answer to the addition problem. So here, positive 8 times negative 3. So positive times negative is negative, and 8 times 3 is 24. Now I'm going to add them. 8, this is positive 8 minus 3. That's 5. Positive 5. There's more positive than negatives. They have different signs, so I subtract to keep the sign of the larger number. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this one. Negative 8 times positive 1 is negative 8. Positive times negative is negative. Now here, if I combine these, right, negative 8 plus 1, that's negative 7. Why? There's more negatives than positives, right? Like I could, if I drew this out, 6, 7, 8. It's one positive. These cancel. I'm left with 7 negatives. Okay? So, what I've observed so far is that if I have a positive and a negative, they multiply to be negative. And then the sum is determined by which number is larger, right? So like if I notice that the top is negative, I know that I'm going to have one positive number and one negative number that multiply to that top number. And then when I'm deciding which one to make positive or negative, I'll keep, right, I'll take a look at the bottom and I'll see, like, for example, here the sum is 16, is negative 16. So that would mean that the larger number is negative, right? Okay, so just make some observations. Let's say both numbers are negative. Negative times negative is positive. And then this is negative 5 and 3 more negatives, negative 8. Okay, so here I observe that if both numbers are negative, then they multiply to be a positive and they add to be a negative. Okay, let's do another one. Positive times negative is negative 60. And here, this is 6 minus 10. There's more negatives than positives, so this is negative 4. So this one and this one are kind of the same, right? Which is I observe that the two numbers, the positives and negatives, we have a number that's the larger number is negative and the smaller number is positive. And I observe that they multiply to be negative and they add to be negative. Now here, when I have two numbers that are negative, they multiply to be positive and they add to be negative. And here, when I had a positive and a negative and the positive number was larger, they multiplied to be negative and they added to be positive. So by observing these patterns, we can take a look down here, right? So like looking at this, I need two numbers that are going to multiply to be positive and add to be negative. There's only one possibility. I have a negative and a negative, right? Because negative times negative is positive and negative plus negative is negative, like this one, right? So this one is kind of like an example for this one. So now that I've decided on the signs, now I just need two numbers that multiply to 63 and add to 16, right? And that would be 9 and 7. So negative 9 times negative 7 is positive 63. 9 negatives, 7 more negatives is negative 16. Okay, let's look at this. This one is just all positives. So look, right? Mine up here aren't all positives. These are positives. This is going to be two positive numbers, right? I need two numbers that multiply to 27, add to 12. That's 9 and 3. Okay, now over here, notice that here and here, my product is negative. Okay, so that means I'm going to have one positive number and one negative number, right? If my product is negative, the way that happens is that one number is positive and one number is negative. Now, the interesting thing that happens in this case is, see how here I wanted two numbers that multiplied to 63 and add to 16? But here, because my signs are different, now when I add these numbers, I'm actually going to end up subtracting them. So now, what I'm trying to think of right now is two numbers that multiply to 28, and when I subtract them, I get 3. So like thinking about numbers that multiply to 28, that'd be 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 4 times 7. And I notice that 4 and 7, these are the ones that if I subtract them, I get 3. Now look, the 3 is positive. So I need my larger number to be positive so that this 3 is positive, right? Like this. If I had put the 4 here, then that would have been positive 4 minus 7. That would have been negative 3. So here, since this 3 is positive, I put my larger number on the positive side. Okay, let's look at this one. I need two numbers that multiply to negative 15. So I'm thinking, right, it's going to be, let's just forget the signs for a second. My two options are 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. I'm looking for the pair that if I subtract, I will get, if I add them, if I subtract them, I get 2. In this case, that's 3 and 5. And what I want to do is I want to make the larger number negative. I want to make the larger number negative because when I add them, I want the answer to be negative. So I would put 5 here and 3 here, right? So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Okay, so in order to get the pictures for this, it's a tough one. You're going to do all the ones on the back and submit a nice clear picture so I can see your answers on your verification sheet.